Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Darren Till to defeat Tyron Woodley. And I'm here to talk about the co-main event for UFC Mexico, Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega 2. My pick for this fight is Yair Rodriguez. I've got Yair winning a decision, I guess, but these guys are both so dangerous every which way that I don't know if anybody can trust a decision here in this fight. But that is my pick, and I have bet on Yair, his money line anyway, at minus 175, because no props are available. And frankly, I wouldn't even be comfortable betting on a prop because, again, these guys are both so fucking dangerous. I certainly wouldn't be comfortable betting on decision. But that is my pick. I think Yair is certainly better on the feet. I think he's the more dynamic fighter, the far and away better athlete, and faster overall. But Brian Ortega is still overall the more dangerous fighter. Talking about on the feet and on the ground. On the feet overall, Brian Ortega is not as dangerous as Yair Rodriguez, but when you factor in their durability and their knockout power, it becomes a little closer. And on the ground, even though Yair Rodriguez is underrated on the ground, has a really good guard, Brian Ortega is better than him and everybody else on the ground. So overall, danger's on Ortega's side, and I wouldn't be surprised if he finished anybody, Yair or anybody, in the middle of a fight that he was losing. Because that was the thing with Brian Ortega. Once he got to the UFC, it was like five consecutive round three finishes, putting away guys that were beating him. And Clay Guida, Diego Brandao, Tiago Tavares, and Renato Moicano, most impressively. He tapped him with a guillotine. And Brian Ortega, again, every one of these fights was competitive at the best. If not, he was losing. And he snatched victory from the jaws of defeat multiple times and then ended up leveling up, getting Cub Swanson and Frankie Edgar out of there to the point where he got a title shot against Max Holloway, which is one of his few losses. He's got 3 official losses, but one of them's to Yair, and it's the shoulder injury, which I don't know if I mentioned, but these guys have fought once before. It lasted 4 minutes, and Brian Ortega injured his shoulder. Probably should have mentioned that. But Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski are the other 2 guys to beat Brian Ortega. And neither one of them was able to put him away. Max got the TKO stoppage, but it was because Brian Ortega's eye was swollen shut. And even though he was being beaten up there, he still didn't look like he was going away. And I thought he did his best work in round 3, I think, in that fight. But regardless, he was a step behind Volkanovski and Holloway, and he was beaten up largely on the feet. But he's tough as all fuck, never legitimately been finished. And that durability is what gives him a shot at the Hail Mary or, the round 3 finish that he's produced so many times. Brian Ortega is incredibly durable to give himself a shot at that in the first place. And I think he's much more durable than Yair Rodriguez, too. Yair, he's been TKO'd 3 times. Once was a knockout on the regional scene back against whoever the fuck. I forgot the guy's name, but he knocked him out. The next one was against Frankie Edgar, who beat him up and grounded him out and shut him down over the course of 2 rounds at UFC 111, I believe, or 211. Not fucking 111. And then he lost his last one by Volkanovski, who knocked him out in the 3rd round. Prime Volkanovski, as I'm going to start referring to him after last weekend. But that's incredible competition, but overall, I do consider him to be less durable than Brian Ortega, certainly. And Brian Ortega, despite being less dangerous on the feet, he's still got danger. So Yair's really got to mind his P's and Q's. And on the ground, Yair's never been submitted, but if there's one guy who can do it, it's Brian Ortega. He's the best submission artist in the division, got incredible chokes, triangle, anaconda, guillotine. I'm sure he's got a monster rear naked as well, even though I don't think I've seen it. But he's the better guy there. If anybody was to get the first submission without there being injuries and whatever, it would be Brian Ortega, in my opinion. And that's the case for every possible fight, every possible matchup. But I'm taking Yair to win. I'm taking him to win. I'm taking him to keep this fight at range for a good portion of the fight, because in the first fight, Brian Ortega actually neutralized Yair, taking him against the cage for a good 2 minutes or whatever before they finally hit the ground. Not that Brian won the round or anything, because I thought Yair was doing well a little earlier, but whatever. I didn't even score the fucking round. He could have won the round. The point is he slowed Yair down, and he might be looking to do that again. But I know Yair, as is the case with any fight, he's going to be looking to keep it at range where he is much better, faster, athletic, and wild. He's more dangerous at range. Again, that's taken away the durability issues, which durability is definitely on the side of Brian Ortega here. But I think Yair has also proven he can fight 5 hard rounds. Looked really good in a losing effort to Max Holloway. That was his most recent defeat after Volkanovski. And that was a 5 round war where I thought he outlasted Max Holloway. By that, I mean he won round 5. It's not like Max was gasping for air. But Yair still performed very well and forced Max to mix up some wrestling, which is not typical of Max Holloway. And I think it speaks to his overall striking prowess. And that's what I'm expecting to settle this fight. The athleticism combined with what I perceive to be a distinct striking advantage for Yair Rodriguez. Now, Brian Ortega's never been finished by submission, and the TKOs, again, I explained them away. So I'm going with him winning by decision, Yair. That's the official pick. But as I mentioned at the top of the video, these guys are so versatile and dangerous that nothing would really surprise me. So as of now, I've only placed a small bet on Yair Rodriguez's money line at minus 175. Covers every path to victory. And for a small bet, I'm comfortable with that. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.